A billionaire CEO discovers his surrogate is still a virgin. What he did next left her completely stunned and changed both of their lives forever. A very beautiful and greatest love story for my beautiful family. Don't miss Chapter 7, because a great surprise is waiting just for you, my beautiful family. Let's start this journey together. Adam Voges had built empires with his bare hands, but the only kingdom he ever wanted, a home filled with genuine love, had crumbled into ash the day he discovered his wife's lies. He stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his office, looking down at the city sprawling beneath him like a conquered territory. Everything he touched turned to gold. Every deal he negotiated ended in his favor. Every competitor who challenged him eventually bowed. But none of it meant anything anymore. The folder on his desk contained the evidence, photographs, text messages, hotel receipts spanning years. His private investigator had been thorough, perhaps too thorough. Each page was another knife twisting in his chest. Sophia, his wife. The woman he had trusted with his heart. The woman who had made a fool of him. Adam's jaw clenched as he remembered their last conversation. She had laughed at him, that cruel, tinkling laugh that once sounded like music. "You're too serious, Adam, too obsessively serious. Do you know how exhausting it is to live with someone who treats everything like a business transaction?" He had tried to explain that loyalty wasn't a transaction, that commitment meant something. But she had waved him off, already texting someone, Damien he now knew, while dismissing his concerns as melodrama. The irony burned. He was called cold, emotionless, mechanical, yet he was the one who had remained faithful. He was the one who had meant his vows. Adam turned away from the window. His reflection stared back at him from the glass. A tall, powerfully built man, with shoulders that carried the weight of corporations, arms that could lift anything except the burden of betrayal. He looked successful. He looked strong. He felt hollow. His phone buzzed. His assistant's voice came through crisp and professional. "Sir, the agency representatives are here for your appointment. Send them in." Adam had made his decision weeks ago, after the initial shock had crystallized into cold clarity. He would not beg Sophia to change. He would not humiliate himself with tears or pleas. Instead, he would do what he had always done, move forward with purpose. He wanted children. He had always wanted children, a family of his own. Something Sophia had postponed year after year with excuses about her figure, her social calendar, her not being ready. Now he understood. She had never intended to have his children. Fine, he would have them without her. The agency director entered with 2 assistants, all of them carrying tablets and folders. They spread out across his conference table, presenting profiles like they were selling properties. "We have several excellent candidates, Mr. Voges. All have been thoroughly vetted. Medical histories, psychological evaluations, background checks." Adam listened with half his attention as they detailed the credentials of various surrogates. Successful professionals, experienced mothers, women who had done this before and would do it again with clinical efficiency. Then one file caught his eye. The photograph showed a young black woman with natural hair, pulled back from a gentle face. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her clothes were simple, almost worn, but her eyes held something the others didn't, a quiet depth, a sadness mixed with determination. "This one," Adam said, pulling the file closer. "Tell me about her." The agency director hesitated. "Andrea is an unusual case. She meets all our requirements, but she has no experience with surrogacy. In fact, she's never—" The woman paused delicately. "The medical examination confirmed she's a virgin." Adam's head snapped up. "Then why is she applying?" "Her mother is gravely ill. The treatment required is extremely expensive and not covered by any insurance we're aware of. She's exhausted every other option." The director's tone became more businesslike. "I should mention, some of our clients prefer more experienced surrogates. Given your high profile, perhaps I want to meet her." "Sir?" "Arrange a meeting tomorrow." The director nodded slowly. "Of course. Though I should warn you, she's quite modest. Not what most of our high-profile clients expect." "Good," Adam said quietly. "I'm tired of expectations. After they left, Adam sat alone in his office as the sun set over the city. He opened Andrea's file again, studying the sparse details. No social media presence, no digital footprint. She worked multiple jobs, none of them glamorous. She lived in a modest neighborhood. She attended church. Everything about her was the opposite of Sophia's glittering, hollow world. Something about her photograph called to him. Maybe it was the honesty in her face. Maybe it was the dignity in her posture despite her worn clothes. Or maybe it was simply that she was willing to sacrifice something precious for someone she loved. Adam understood sacrifice. He had sacrificed his youth building his empire. He had sacrificed his trust on an unfaithful wife. Now he would sacrifice his pride and his privacy to have what mattered most, a family. But first he needed to meet the woman who might give him that chance. The next morning, Adam cleared his entire schedule. His assistant raised her eyebrows but said nothing. Adam Voges never cleared his schedule for anyone. Andrea arrived exactly on time, escorted by the agency director. Adam stood as they entered, and his first thought was that photographs did not do her justice. She was beautiful, but not in the sharp, manufactured way of Sophia's beauty. Andrea's beauty was soft and natural, like morning light. She wore a simple dress that had been pressed carefully but showed signs of age. Her shoes were clean but worn at the heels. She kept her eyes downcast, her hands clasped in front of her. "Miss Andrea," Adam said, his voice gentler than usual. "Please sit." She sat on the edge of the chair as if afraid to claim too much space. The agency director began to speak, but Adam raised his hand. "Leave us, please." The director's eyes widened. "Sir, protocol requires, I'll call you when we're finished." When they were alone, Andrea finally looked up at him. Her eyes were remarkable. Deep brown and luminous, filled with intelligence and something else. "Fear, yes, but also courage. You don't have to be afraid of me," Adam said quietly. "I'm not afraid of you, sir." Her voice was soft but steady. "I'm afraid of failing." Andrea's hands twisted in her lap. "My mother is dying. Every day she gets weaker, and every day the doctors tell me the same thing. There's a treatment that could help, but it's abroad, and it costs more than I'll ever have. I've applied for loans. I've tried fundraising. I've done everything except—" She took a shaking breath. "Except this. You understand what surrogacy entails?" "Yes, sir." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "The agency explained everything. The procedures, the pregnancy, the clinical nature of it. I understand." Adam leaned back in his chair, studying her. "Why you? There must be other ways to earn money." "Not fast enough." "Not enough?" Andrea's eyes met his with sudden fierceness. "My mother raised me alone after my father left. She worked herself to exhaustion to give me opportunities. She taught me about dignity and faith and loving others more than yourself. Now she's dying, and I can't just watch her fade away when there's something I can do to help, even if it costs me." She didn't finish the sentence, but Adam understood. "Even if it costs me everything I was saving for marriage, everything I believed about myself." The silence stretched between them. Outside, the city hummed with traffic and commerce. But in this room, there was only the sound of two people breathing and the weight of choices that would change everything. "I need you to understand something," Adam finally said. "I'm not a kind man. I'm not gentle or patient or warm. Everyone who knows me would tell you I'm cold, calculating, obsessive about control." He paused, making sure she was listening. "But I give you my word, my absolute unbreakable word, that you will be treated with respect. No harm will come to you, no dishonor. You will have the best medical care, complete privacy, and every protection I can provide." Andrea's eyes filled with tears. Why what? Why would you promise that to someone like me?" "I'm nobody. I'm just a desperate woman who—" "You're a daughter who loves her mother enough to sacrifice everything," Adam interrupted. "That makes you someone worth protecting." A tear slid down Andrea's cheek. She wiped it away quickly, embarrassed. "I don't know what to say. Say yes. Let me help you save your mother. Let me have the family I've been denied. We can help each other." Andrea looked at him for a long moment, and Adam felt something shift in the air between them. It wasn't attraction, not yet. It was something deeper. Recognition, perhaps. Two wounded souls finding unexpected shelter in each other. "Yes," Andrea whispered. I'll do it. Adam nodded once, formal and businesslike, though his chest felt strangely tight. I'll have my lawyers draw up a contract. But I want to add some terms that aren't standard. What terms? You'll stay in a private wing of my home during the pregnancy. You'll have your own space, complete privacy, but access to everything you need. You'll have personal security, not because I don't trust you, but because I don't trust the world. And most importantly, Adam leaned forward, his voice dropping, if at any point you feel unsafe or uncomfortable, you can leave. The medical care for your mother will continue regardless. You're not trapped by this decision. Andrea stared at him, more tears falling now. I don't understand. Why would you do that? Because I've lived in a trap, Adam said quietly. I won't create one for someone else. As Andrea stood to leave, she paused at the door. Adam watched as she turned back, her hand pressed against the frame for support. Mr. Voges. Yes? Thank you for seeing me as a person, not just a solution. After she left, Adam stood at his window again. The city looked the same as it had yesterday, but something had changed. For the first time since discovering Sophia's betrayal, he felt something other than emptiness. He felt purpose. His phone rang. Sophia's name flashed on the screen. Another charity gala she wanted to attend, probably. Another event where she would smile for cameras while texting her lover behind Adam's back. Adam declined the call and blocked the number. That evening, as Adam reviewed the contract his lawyers had prepared, he added one more clause in his own handwriting, a promise that Andrea would be protected not just legally, but honorably, that her dignity would be preserved above all else. He didn't know why it mattered so much. He told himself it was simply good business, clear terms, proper boundaries. But deep down, in a part of himself he had locked away after Sophia's betrayal. Adam knew the truth. Andrea's willingness to sacrifice for love had reminded him of something he had forgotten, that some people still believed in keeping their promises. Chapter 2, The Covenant of Honor. The contract signing took place in Adam's private study rather than a sterile conference room. Andrea sat across from him, her eyes scanning the pages with careful attention. The lawyers flanked them like sentries, ready to explain every clause, but Adam waved them away. Take your time, he told Andrea. Read everything. Ask questions. She did read, her finger tracing each line as if the words might shift under scrutiny. When she reached the financial terms, her hands stilled. This can't be right, she whispered. What can't be? The amount. This is more than enough for my mother's treatment 3 times over. Adam's expression remained neutral. The medical care is separate. That's already arranged and paid for. What you're looking at is your compensation. But I can't. This is too much. It's fair. Adam's tone left no room for argument. You're giving me something priceless. The compensation reflects that. Andrea set the papers down, her hands trembling. I feel like I'm taking advantage of you. One of the lawyers made a small sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. Adam shot him a look that sent the man scurrying from the room. The other lawyers followed quickly. When they were alone, Adam stood and walked to the window. Rain was beginning to fall, streaking the glass like tears. My wife, he said quietly, not looking at Andrea, has spent years taking from me. My trust, my time, my belief in partnership. She took and gave nothing back except lies. He turned to face Andrea. You're offering me honesty. You're offering me the chance to be a father. That's not taking advantage. That's giving me something I thought I'd lost forever. Andrea's eyes were bright, with unshed tears. You deserve better than what she gave you. So do you. Better than a world that forces you to make choices like this. The rain fell harder, drumming against the windows. Andrea stood, moving closer to where Adam stood. She was small next to him, the top of her head barely reaching his shoulder. But there was strength in her bearing, a quiet dignity that made her seem taller. I need you to know something, Andrea said softly. I'm scared. I'm terrified, actually. Of the procedures, of the pregnancy, of what this will mean for my future. But I'm also grateful. You're giving my mother a chance to live, and you're doing it with more kindness than I expected from someone like you, someone like me. Powerful, wealthy, the kind of man who doesn't have to care about people like me. She took a breath. But you do care. I can see it in how you added these clauses about my safety and dignity. You didn't have to do that. Adam felt something unfamiliar stir in his chest. When was the last time someone had acknowledged his humanity? Sophia certainly never had. His business associates saw only his strategic mind. His employees feared his expectations, but Andrea saw him as a person who cared. Sign the contract, Adam said gently, and let me keep my promise to you. Andrea picked up the pen. Her hand hovered over the signature line for just a moment before she wrote her name in careful, flowing script. Adam signed next, his signature bold and decisive. It was done. When does the process begin? Andrea asked. The medical team will contact you tomorrow. They'll explain everything, answer all your questions. But Andrea, Adam waited until she met his eyes. If at any point you change your mind, tell me. Not the doctors, not the agency. Me, directly. I won't change my mind. But if you do, tell me anyway. She nodded, clutching the contract to her chest like a lifeline. As she turned to leave, Adam called out, Andrea, wait! She turned back and Adam found himself at a loss for words. What did he want to say? Thank you seemed inadequate. This was a transaction, he reminded himself, a mutually beneficial arrangement. But it didn't feel like a transaction. Your mother, Adam said finally. What's her name? Andrea's face softened with surprise. Grace. Her name is Grace. Grace will receive the best care available. I've already made arrangements with a specialist. They'll contact her directly. Fresh tears spilled down Andrea's cheeks. She pressed her hand to her mouth, overwhelmed. How can I ever repay you? You already are. After Andrea left, Adam remained in his study long into the night. Rain continued to fall, and somewhere in the house he could hear Sophia moving around, preparing for another evening out. Another gala, another party. Another excuse to meet Damien. Adam didn't care anymore. Sophia belonged to his past. Andrea and the children she would carry, they were his future. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was the ring he had used to propose to Sophia, a gaudy diamond that now seemed obscene in its excess. She had never loved him. She had loved what he represented. Wealth, status, access to a world she craved. Adam closed the box and dropped it in the trash. Tomorrow, he would begin divorce proceedings, quietly, carefully, with enough evidence to ensure Sophia couldn't claim anything beyond what their prenuptial agreement specified. She would fight, of course. She would rage and threaten. But Adam had built his empire by anticipating his opponent's moves. Sophia had underestimated him one too many times. The next few weeks passed in a blur of medical appointments and preparations. Andrea moved into the private wing of the estate, a suite of rooms overlooking the garden, decorated simply but comfortably. Adam made sure she had everything she needed while maintaining respectful distance. They rarely saw each other directly. Adam was often working late, and Andrea kept to her rooms, adjusting to her new surroundings. But the staff reported back to him how she thanked everyone by name, how she helped the housekeeper fold laundry even though she wasn't expected to, how she spent hours in the garden reading or simply sitting in peaceful silence. She was nothing like Sophia. The medical procedures began. Adam stayed away during those appointments, respecting Andrea's privacy. But he made sure she had a driver, security, and anything else she might need. One evening, Adam came home late to find Andrea in the kitchen making tea. The housekeeper had gone home for the night, and the house was quiet, except for rain pattering softly outside. Couldn't sleep? Adam asked. Andrea startled, nearly dropping her mug. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. This is your home too. You're not intruding, she smiled shyly. And Adam found himself noticing details about her, the way her hair curled slightly at her temples, the grace of her movements as she poured hot water, the peacefulness that seemed to emanate from her presence. Would you like some tea? Andrea offered. It's chamomile. Supposed to help with sleep. Adam rarely drank tea. He rarely did anything that wasn't productive or strategic. But he found himself nodding. Thank you. They sat at the kitchen island together, two people who were virtual strangers, bound together by an unusual arrangement. The silence between them was comfortable, broken only by the clink of spoons against porcelain and the distant rumble of thunder. "How is your mother?" Adam asked. Andrea's face lit up, the first truly radiant smile he had seen from her. Better, so much better. The doctors say the treatment is working. She sounds stronger every time I call. She's even making jokes again," Andrea's voice caught. "Because of you. You saved her life. You're the one who made the sacrifice, a sacrifice that you're making worthwhile." Andrea set down her mug and looked at him directly. "I pray for you every night. I hope that's okay." Adam didn't know what to say to that. No one had ever prayed for him before. "What do you pray for?" "That you find peace, that you find happiness, that you become the father you want to be." Andrea's voice was soft but fervent. "And that whoever hurt you never has the power to hurt you again." Adam's throat tightened. He stared into his tea, unable to meet her eyes. "Thank you." They finished their tea in silence. When Andrea stood to leave, she paused beside Adam's chair. Her hand hovered near his shoulder for just a moment, as if she wanted to offer comfort but wasn't sure if it would be welcome. Then she was gone, leaving only the faint scent of chamomile and something sweeter. Hope, perhaps. Adam sat alone in the dark kitchen for a long time after, wondering when his life had become so complicated, and why, for the first time in years, complicated didn't feel like a burden. Several weeks later, the medical team confirmed what they had been hoping for. Andrea was pregnant. With twins, Adam received the news in his office. He sat very still, the phone pressed to his ear, as the doctor explained the early stages of development and the need for careful monitoring. 2 babies, 2 sons or daughters who would carry his name, his legacy, his love. 2 miracles growing inside a woman who had sacrificed her innocence to save her mother's life. Adam ended the call and stood at his window, looking out at the city he had conquered. None of it mattered compared to this. None of it meant anything without family. For the first time since discovering Sophia's betrayal, Adam allowed himself to feel something other than anger or emptiness. He felt hope. That evening, Adam knocked on Andrea's door. She opened it, her eyes red from crying. "You know," Adam said. The doctor called. Andrea's hand went to her stomach, still flat but holding infinite promise. "Twins, I'm carrying twins. Are you okay?" "I'm overwhelmed," Andrea admitted, "and grateful, and terrified." All at once, Adam surprised himself by reaching out and taking her hand. Her fingers were small and cool in his grasp. "We'll do this together." "You won't be alone." Andrea looked down at their joined hands, then back up at his face. Something passed between them. Understanding, perhaps, or the beginning of trust. "Together," she repeated softly. Neither of them noticed Sophia watching from the shadows of the hallway, her face twisted with calculation as she witnessed the gentle moment between her husband and the surrogate. Chapter 3. Roots growing in stone. Andrea moved through the mansion like a gentle breeze, leaving calm in her wake. The staff noticed first. The housekeeper mentioned how Andrea always asked about her grandchildren. The gardener smiled more often after Andrea began helping him plant new flowers, her hands in the dirt, without complaint. The chef started humming again because Andrea thanked him enthusiastically for every meal, even when pregnancy made her too nauseous to eat much. Adam noticed too, though he pretended not to. He would find her in unexpected places, sitting with the elderly groundskeeper as he told stories about the estate's history, playing cards with the security guard during his break, teaching the housekeeper's daughter simple songs. Andrea created community wherever she went, turning a house of strangers into something resembling family. Sophia, by contrast, moved through the same spaces like winter wind, cold, sharp, leaving nothing but discomfort behind her. "Don't you find it pathetic?" Sophia asked one morning, applying lipstick in her vanity mirror while Adam dressed for work. "The way she acts like she belongs here?" Adam didn't respond. He had learned months ago that responding only encouraged Sophia's cruelty. She's just a surrogate, a hired incubator. But she walks around making friends with the staff like she's the lady of the house. Sophia turned to look at Adam directly. You should remind her of her place. Her place is being respected under this roof, Adam said coldly. Which is more than you've earned. Sophia's eyes flashed. Excuse me? You heard me. Adam left before she could respond, but he could feel her anger following him like poison in the air. The pregnancy progressed. Andrea's body began to change, her belly swelling with life. She moved more slowly now, one hand often resting protectively on her stomach. Adam found himself watching her more than he should, concerned about her well-being. Was she eating enough? Was she in pain? Did she need anything? He told himself it was merely practical concern. The baby's health depended on Andrea's health. That was all. But late at night, when he couldn't sleep, Adam admitted the truth to himself. Andrea had become important to him, not as a surrogate or an employee, but as a person he genuinely cared about. It was terrifying. One afternoon, Adam returned home early to find Andrea in the garden. She was kneeling beside a bed of roses, talking softly to the plants as she worked. You need to be strong, she was saying, her hands gentle on the soil. The world is harsh, but you have roots. Hold tight to those roots and keep growing toward the sun. Adam stood watching from the terrace, struck by the tenderness in her voice. Was she really talking to flowers? Or was she talking to the babies growing inside her? Perhaps both. Andrea looked up suddenly, sensing his presence. Her face flushed with embarrassment. I know it's silly. Talking to plants. It's not silly, Adam said, surprising himself. My mother used to do the same thing. She said plants could sense love. Your mother sounds wise. She was. Before she learned to be silent, Andrea stood slowly, one hand on her lower back. Adam was down the terrace steps before he realized he was moving, his hand supporting her elbow. I'm okay, Andrea said softly. Just a little stiff. But she didn't pull away from his touch. They stood together in the garden, surrounded by roses and the distant sound of a fountain. Andrea's hand remained on her belly, and Adam found himself wondering what the babies were doing in that moment. Were they sleeping, growing? Did they know their father was near? They kicked for the first time last night, Andrea said quietly, as if reading his thoughts. Just little flutters. But I knew what it was. Adam's hand tightened on her elbow. What did it feel like? Like hope. Andrea looked up at him, her eyes bright. Like tiny messengers telling me everything will be okay. Adam wanted to ask if he could feel it too, but the words stuck in his throat. What right did he have to that intimacy? Andrea was doing him a service. She was fulfilling a contract. He shouldn't want more than what was agreed upon, but he did want more. He wanted to feel his children move. He wanted to be part of this miracle, instead of standing on the outside watching it happen. As if sensing his thoughts, Andrea smiled. When they kick again, I'll find you. You should feel it too. You don't have to. I want to. Andrea's voice was firm. They're your sons, Adam. You should know them from the beginning. The sound of his name on her lips sent an unexpected warmth through his chest. She had called him Mr. Vogus until now, maintaining professional distance. But Adam felt right. It felt like she saw him as a person, not just an employer. Thank you, he said quietly. Andrea nodded and turned back to her roses. Adam watched her for another moment before forcing himself to leave. He had work to do, calls to return, empires to manage, but his mind stayed in the garden with Andrea and the flowers she spoke to with such tenderness. That evening, Adam worked late in his study. Financial reports blurred together on his screen. Numbers that once captivated him, now seeming meaningless. He was about to call it a night when his phone buzzed with a message from his private investigator. New evidence. Sophia and Damien at the Riverside Hotel. Photos attached. Adam opened the files with clinical detachment. There was his wife laughing in another man's arms, kissing him in the lobby, following him to a room. Years ago, this would have destroyed him. Now it just felt like confirmation of what he already knew. Sophia had never loved him. She had loved his money, his status, his power, but never him. Adam saved the files methodically, adding them to the growing collection his lawyers would need. Soon, very soon, he would end this farce of a marriage, but not yet. Not until the babies were born, and Andrea was safe from any fallout. Sophia was vindictive when cornered, and Adam wouldn't risk Andrea or the children becoming collateral damage. A soft knock on his study door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." Andrea entered hesitantly, wearing a simple nightgown and robe. Her hair was loose around her shoulders, and in the soft lamplight she looked almost ethereal. "I'm sorry to disturb you," she said. "But you asked me to tell you when the babies kicked again." Adam was on his feet immediately. "They're kicking now?" "Yes, come feel." Andrea took his hand and placed it on her belly, pressing his palm flat against the gentle swell. For a moment there was nothing, then a flutter. Tiny but unmistakable, then another. Adam's vision blurred. He sank to his knees, his hand still pressed to Andrea's stomach, and wept like a child. Great! Shaking sobs tore from his chest. All the grief and loneliness and pain he had been holding back for years finally breaking free. Andrea's hand came to rest on his head, her fingers gentle in his hair. She said nothing, just stood there offering silent comfort while Adam fell apart at her feet. "I'm sorry," Adam finally managed, his voice hoarse. "I didn't mean to—" "Shh!" Andrea's hand moved soothingly. "You don't have to apologize for feeling. No one has ever—" Adam couldn't finish the sentence. "No one has ever let me be weak. No one has ever accepted my pain without judgment. I know," Andrea said softly. "But I'm here now, and you're not alone anymore." Adam looked up at her through tear-blurred eyes. Andrea gazed back with such gentle understanding that he felt something crack open inside his chest, some frozen part of himself that he had buried after Sophia's betrayal. "Thank you," Adam whispered. "For everything. They're going to be so loved," Andrea said, her hand still on his head. "Your sons are going to know a father who cries for joy at feeling them kick. That's beautiful." Sons, the word echoed through Adam's mind. Sons who would carry his name. Sons he would teach and guide and love with everything in him. Sons who came from a woman who showed him more kindness in months than his wife had shown in years. Later, after Andrea had returned to her room, Adam sat alone in his study. The photos of Sophia and Damien still glowed on his screen, but they seemed distant now. Irrelevant. His real life wasn't in those images. His real life was growing inside Andrea, kicking against her belly, preparing to enter a world that Adam would make safe and loving for them. He made a decision then. After the babies were born, after Andrea had fulfilled her contract and could leave if she wanted, Adam would tell her the truth, that she had given him more than children. She had given him hope that good people still existed in the world. Across the house, Sophia stood at her window, watching Adam's study light burn late into the night. She had heard Andrea's visit, heard the soft sounds of conversation through the walls. Something was growing between her husband and the surrogate, something that threatened Sophia's comfortable life. She picked up her phone and sent a message to Damien. "We need to talk. Things are getting complicated." Chapter 4. The Birth of Everything. The first contraction hit Andrea during breakfast. She was sitting at the kitchen island, trying to eat the scrambled eggs the chef had made, especially for her, when pain lanced through her abdomen. Andrea gasped, her fork clattering against the plate. "Miss Andrea!" The housekeeper was at her side immediately. "What's wrong?" "I think—" Andrea breathed through the fading pain. "I think it's time." The household erupted into controlled chaos. The housekeeper called Adam's office. The driver brought the car around. Security alerted the hospital. Within minutes, Andrea was being helped into the vehicle, a bag already packed and waiting by the door. Adam met them at the hospital entrance, having broken every traffic law to arrive first. His face was pale, his eyes wild with concern. "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," Andrea said, though another contraction was building. "Baby's just decided today's the day." Adam stayed by her side, through check-in, through the examination, through the endless hours that followed. The medical team explained that Andrea's labor was progressing slowly but normally. "It would be a long day. You don't have to stay," Andrea told Adam during a break between contractions. "I know you have important things." "Nothing is more important than this," Adam interrupted firmly. "I'm staying." So he did. He held Andrea's hand when the contractions intensified. He wiped her forehead with cool cloths. He breathed with her when the pain became overwhelming. He ignored the constant buzzing of his phone, his assistant's increasingly urgent messages about meetings and deals that couldn't wait. Let them wait. Let the whole world wait. His sons were being born. Andrea refused pain medication for as long as she could, wanting to be fully present for the birth. But as hours stretched and the contractions became brutal, even her remarkable strength began to waver. "I can't," she sobbed during a particularly bad contraction. "Adam, I can't do this." "Yes, you can." Adam's voice was firm but gentle. "You're the strongest person I know. You can do this. I'm scared, I know. But I'm right here. I'm not leaving." Andrea gripped his hand so tightly he felt bones grind together. But Adam didn't flinch. He let her have whatever she needed, his strength, his presence, his unwavering support. Sophia called multiple times. Adam declined every call without looking at the screen. Afternoon faded into evening. The medical team monitored carefully, adjusting Andrea's position, checking the baby's heartbeats, offering encouragement. But labor was hard, brutal work, and Andrea was exhausted. "I need to push," Andrea finally gasped. Everything shifted then. The medical team moved into position. Lights brightened. Instructions came rapid fire. Adam stayed at Andrea's side, one hand holding hers, the other supporting her shoulders. "You've got this," he whispered. Almost there, Andrea bore down with a strength Adam didn't know existed. Her face contorted with effort, a low groan building in her throat. She refused to scream, biting her lip until it bled, determined to meet her pain with dignity. "The first baby's crowning," the doctor announced. "One more push, Andrea." Andrea pushed with everything she had left. And then a cry. High and indignant and absolutely perfect. "It's a boy!" The doctor held up a squirming, red-faced infant. Adam stared at his son in absolute wonder. The baby was tiny, covered in fluid, wailing his displeasure at being forced into the cold world. And he was perfect. "Absolutely perfect. One more," the doctor said. "The second baby is right behind." Andrea barely had time to catch her breath before the urge to push came again. This time it was faster. The second twin seemed eager to join his brother. Within minutes, another cry filled the room. "Another boy!" "Congratulations!" Adam couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't process what he was seeing as nurses cleaned and wrapped both babies. Two sons, two perfect, healthy sons. The first baby was placed in his arms. Adam looked down at the tiny face, the closed eyes, the miniature fingers curled into fists. The weight of him was nothing. The meaning of him was everything. Then the second baby joined his brother, and Adam stood there, holding both sons against his chest, tears streaming unchecked down his face. "Thank you," Adam whispered brokenly, looking at Andrea. "Thank you. You gave me a reason to live again." Andrea smiled weakly from the bed, exhausted and pale, but radiant with accomplishment. "Take care of them, love them. That's all I ask." "I will," Adam promised. "Every day. I swear it." The medical team bustled around them, checking vitals, recording weights, ensuring everyone was stable. But Adam's entire world had narrowed to the two lives cradled in his arms, his sons, his family, his future. A nurse gently took the babies to complete their examinations, promising to bring them back soon. Adam moved to Andrea's bedside, taking her hand. "How are you?" "Tired," Andrea admitted. "But happy. They're beautiful, aren't they?" "Perfect. Like their mother." Andrea's eyes widened at his words, but she was too exhausted to respond. Within minutes, she had fallen into deep sleep, her body finally able to rest after the ordeal. Adam stayed beside her bed, watching her breathe, marveling at what she had endured. She had given him everything he wanted most in the world, and she had done it with grace and courage that humbled him. The nurse brought the twins back, cleaned and swaddled. Adam held them carefully, one in each arm, studying their tiny faces. They looked like him, he thought. Same strong chin, same serious expression even in sleep. You're going to be loved, Adam whispered to them. So loved. I promise you'll never doubt that. The babies slept peacefully, unaware of the vow their father had just made. Sophia arrived later that evening, her heels clicking sharply down the hospital corridor. She swept into the room with her phone already out, ready to take photos for social media. Where are they? She demanded. Adam stood between Sophia and the twins, his body a wall. They're sleeping. I want to see them. Fine, see them. Then leave. Sophia's eyes narrowed at his tone, but she approached the bassinets. She looked down at the babies with an expression that might have been curiosity, but held no warmth, no love, no connection. They're very red, she said finally. They were just born. Well, I suppose they'll look better once they've cleaned up properly. Sophia pulled out her phone. Move aside. I need photos. No, excuse me. Adam's voice was ice. You will not use my sons for your social media performance. You will not pretend to be a loving mother when you can't even look at them with genuine emotion. Take your photos somewhere else. Sophia's face flushed with anger. They're my children too. Biologically? No. Legally? Only until the divorce is finalized. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Divorce. Sophia's voice went shrill. You can't be serious. I'm always serious. You should know that by now. Adam turned his back on her, effectively dismissing her. Leave, Sophia. You don't belong here. Sophia sputtered threats and accusations, but Adam ignored her until she finally stormed out, her fury echoing down the hallway. Andrea stirred in her sleep, and Adam immediately moved to her bedside, worried she had heard the confrontation. But she settled again without waking, her face peaceful in rest. Adam pulled a chair close to her bed and sat down, keeping watch over Andrea and the twins. His assistant called multiple times, but Adam silenced his phone. The business world could survive without him for one night. Tonight, he was exactly where he needed to be. As darkness fell outside the hospital windows, Adam looked at the three people who had changed his life completely, Andrea, who had sacrificed so much, and his sons, tiny and perfect and full of infinite promise. For the first time in years, Adam felt complete. The nurse came in to check on everyone, smiling at the tender scene. Most fathers go home to rest. You're welcome to stay, but there's a sleeping chair if you need it. I'm not going anywhere, Adam said quietly. He stayed through the night, dozing occasionally, but mostly watching his sons sleep. Every tiny movement fascinated him. Every small sound made his heart clench with love. When Andrea woke in the early morning hours, she found Adam still there, one hand resting protectively on the nearest bassinet. You stayed, she whispered. I told you I would. Thank you, Andrea said softly. For everything. Adam met her eyes across the dim room. I should be thanking you. You gave me everything I thought I'd lost. Hope, purpose, family. You would have found it eventually. No, Adam said firmly. Not without you. Andrea looked away, uncomfortable with the intensity of his gratitude. But Adam saw the small smile on her lips, the way her hand moved to rest where the babies had been growing just hours before. She had done something extraordinary, and Adam would spend the rest of his life making sure she never regretted it. Outside, dawn was breaking over the city. Inside the hospital room, a new family was taking its first breaths, learning how to be together, preparing for a future none of them could have predicted. Chapter 5. The breaking point. Coming home from the hospital should have been joyful. Instead, it felt like walking into a minefield. Sophia was waiting in the foyer when they arrived, dressed immaculately as always, her smile bright and false. Behind her, a photographer from one of the society magazines stood ready with his camera. Welcome home, Sophia exclaimed, arms spread wide. Let me see my beautiful boys. Adam stopped in the doorway, Andrea beside him with one twin while he carried the other. The babies were sleeping peacefully, unaware of the tension crackling through the air. Get out, Adam said quietly. Sophia's smile didn't waver, but her eyes went cold. Darling, don't be silly. I live here. Not anymore. Your things have been moved to the guest house. You'll stay there until you find somewhere else. You can't be serious. Adam turned to the photographer. You have 10 seconds to leave before I call security and have you arrested for trespassing. The photographer looked between Adam and Sophia, clearly recognizing a story but also recognizing the very real threat in Adam's voice. He left quickly, camera unused. Sophia's mask cracked. How dare you humiliate me like this? Me? Humiliate you? Adam's laugh was bitter. That's rich, Sophia, truly. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. We both do. But I'm not having this conversation in front of Andrea or my sons. Adam's voice dropped to something dangerous. Leave, now. Sophia looked at Andrea then, really looked at her for the first time. Andrea stood quietly, protective arms around the baby she held, her face carefully neutral. But there was strength in her stance, a quiet dignity that contrasted sharply with Sophia's brittle glamour. This is about her, isn't it? Sophia's voice turned venomous. You're throwing me out for the help? I'm removing you from my home because you're a liar and a cheat, Adam said flatly. Andrea has nothing to do with that. Those are your choices, your failures. Sophia opened her mouth to respond, but Adam was already moving past her, guiding Andrea toward the stairs. Behind them, they could hear Sophia's furious sobbing, the sound of something expensive breaking against a wall. The staff scattered before them like leaves, pretending not to witness the drama. Only the housekeeper remained, appearing at the top of the stairs to help Andrea. The nursery is ready, she said gently, taking the baby from Andrea's arms. Everything's been prepared just as you requested, Mr. Vogers. The nursery was perfect. 2 cribs positioned to catch morning light. A comfortable chair for feeding. Soft colors and gentle decorations that created an atmosphere of peace. Adam had overseen every detail personally, wanting his son's first room to feel safe and welcoming. Andrea moved slowly, still recovering from childbirth. The housekeeper helped her settle into the chair while Adam placed his son in one of the cribs. Both babies continued sleeping, exhausted from their journey home. You should rest, Adam told Andrea. The guest suite next to the nursery has been prepared for you. You'll be close to the babies, but have your own space. Thank you, Andrea said softly, for everything. For defending me against Sophia. You don't need to thank me for basic decency, Andrea smiled tiredly. In my experience, basic decency is rarer than it should be. Adam wanted to say more, but the housekeeper was there, and the babies needed attention, and the moment passed. He left Andrea to rest, returning to his study, where divorce papers waited for his signature. His lawyer had been thorough. The prenuptial agreement Sophia signed protected Adam's assets almost completely. She would receive a modest settlement and nothing more. The evidence of her affair ensured she couldn't contest the terms without looking even worse than she already did. Adam signed his name firmly, knowing he was closing one chapter of his life to open another. The next few weeks developed a rhythm. Andrea recovered slowly, her body healing from the trauma of childbirth. She stayed in the guest suite near the nursery, close enough to hear the babies, but with space to herself. Adam threw himself into fatherhood with the same intensity he brought to everything. He learned to change diapers, mix formula, recognize different cries. He paced the hallway at midnight with a fussing baby against his shoulder. He read stories to the twins, even though they were too young to understand, wanting them to know his voice. He was terrible at it at first. His large hands fumbled with tiny clothes. He mixed formula too hot, then too cold. He panicked when the babies cried for no obvious reason, but he learned. He adapted. He became the father he had always wanted to be. Andrea watched all of this with quiet approval. She helped when he needed it, but let him figure things out when he could. Sometimes Adam would catch her smiling at his clumsy attempts to dress one of the twins. The baby's leg going through the wrong hole for the 3rd time. You could help instead of laughing, Adam said. But there was no heat in his words. You're doing fine, Andrea assured him. Babies are more resilient than they look. That's what terrifies me. They developed an easy partnership, sharing responsibilities without keeping score. Adam handled night feeding so Andrea could sleep. Andrea managed the schedule and medical appointments. Together, they created a functional team. Sophia remained in the guest house, making increasingly desperate attempts to see the babies. Adam refused every request. He also refused her calls, her texts, her attempts to manipulate him through mutual friends. She had lost her power over him, and they both knew it. One evening, Adam found Andrea in the nursery, rocking one of the twins. She was humming softly, a melody he didn't recognize, but that seemed to soothe the fussy baby. "You're good at this," Adam said from the doorway. Andrea looked up, startled. "I don't have much choice. They need care. It's more than that." "You love them." Andrea's arms tightened around the baby. "Of course I love them. How could I not? The contract said you would carry them. It said nothing about loving them." "Some things go beyond contracts," Andrea said quietly. Adam entered the nursery, moving to the second crib where his other son slept peacefully. He traced a finger across the baby's downy head, marveling as always at how something so small could mean so much. "Andrea," Adam said, not looking at her. "When do you plan to leave?" Silence greeted his question. When he finally turned, Andrea was staring at him with wide eyes. "Leave?"
Your contract is fulfilled.
"The babies are born and healthy. You've earned your compensation, and your mother's treatment is complete. You're free to go whenever you want." Andrea looked down at the baby in her arms. "Do you want me to leave?" "That's not what I asked, but it's what I'm asking." Andrea's voice wavered. "Do you want me gone?" Adam realized with sudden clarity that he was handling this badly. He crossed the room and knelt beside Andrea's chair, looking up at her. "I don't want you to go," he admitted. "But I also won't trap you here out of obligation. You've given me everything I asked for and more. You deserve to live your own life, make your own choices. What if I choose to stay?" Adam's heart stuttered. "Why would you?" "Because these boys need me. Because you need help. Because—" Andrea stopped, swallowing hard. "Because I don't have anywhere else I'd rather be." "Andrea, I know what you're thinking, that I'm confused or feeling obligated. But I'm not." Andrea's voice grew stronger. "I love these babies. I love being part of their lives. And I think—" She paused, gathering courage. "I think you've become family too." Adam stood abruptly, overwhelmed by emotions he couldn't name. Family. She had called him family. When was the last time anyone had claimed him like that? "You should think about this," Adam said roughly. "Don't decide tonight. Take time, consider your options." "I don't need time. I've been thinking about this since they were born." Andrea stood as well, the baby cradled against her shoulder. "Unless you don't want me here. If that's the case, tell me now and I'll make arrangements to leave." "That's not what I want. Then what do you want?" Adam looked at Andrea, really looked at her. She stood in his nursery holding one of his sons, her hair slightly mussed, wearing comfortable clothes instead of designer fashion. She was nothing like the women in his world. Nothing like Sophia with her polished perfection. She was real, honest, good. And somehow, she had become essential to him. "I want you to stay," Adam said quietly. "Not as a surrogate or an employee, but as part of this family. Help me raise them. Teach them to be good people like you are." Tears shimmered in Andrea's eyes. "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Andrea nodded slowly, relief and joy mixing on her face. "Then I'll stay, for as long as you need me." "Thank you," Adam whispered. They stood together in the dim nursery, the soft sounds of the baby's breathing filling the silence. Outside, night had fallen completely. Inside, something new was beginning, a family built not on blood or obligation, but on choice and care and the quiet courage of two wounded people learning to trust again. Across the estate, in the cold isolation of the guest house, Sophia watched the nursery windows and plotted her revenge. Chapter 6. The Chess Game. The evidence arrived in manila folders, thick with documentation and photographs. Adam spread them across his desk, while his attorney watched with professional detachment. Each photo showed Sophia and Damien in increasingly compromising situations: hotels, restaurants, private apartments. The timeline stretched back years. proof that Sophia's betrayal wasn't a momentary mistake, but a sustained deception. "This is more than enough for the divorce," the attorney said. "She won't be able to contest anything. I know." Adam studied one particular photo, Sophia laughing in Damien's arms, her face showing more genuine joy than Adam had seen in years of marriage. "But I want to be smart about this. Sophia is vindictive when cornered, which is why I recommend we settle quietly. Pay her off, get her to sign, move forward." Adam shook his head slowly. "That leaves her free to spread lies about Andrea, to claim the surrogate stole her husband, to make herself the victim. People will think what they want regardless, but I can control the narrative." Adam's mind worked through the possibilities like chess moves. "Sophia cares more about her social standing than anything else. What's her biggest event each year?" The attorney consulted her notes. "The Autumn Charity Gala. She's been chairwoman for the past few years. It's her crowning social achievement." "Perfect." Adam's smile was cold. "That's when we do it. Public, undeniable, with enough witnesses that she can't spin the story. You're sure about this? Going public is risky. Staying silent while she destroys Andrea's reputation is riskier." The attorney nodded slowly. "You'll need Andrea's cooperation. This will put her in the spotlight too. I'll talk to her." After the attorney left, Adam remained in his study, staring at the photographs. He felt no pleasure in Sophia's exposure, no satisfaction in her coming humiliation. But he would not let her hurt Andrea or the twins to salvage her own image. Some things were worth fighting for. Some people were worth protecting. Adam found Andrea in the garden with the twins. They were in a double stroller, sleeping peacefully in the dappled shade while Andrea read nearby. She looked up as Adam approached, smiling warmly. They just fell asleep. "We've been out here for an hour. I think they like the fresh air. Andrea, we need to talk." Adam sat beside her on the bench, choosing his words carefully. "I'm moving forward with the divorce. Publicly." Andrea's smile faded. "Publicly? Sophia has been telling people that I abandoned her for the surrogate, that you're a gold digger who seduced me. I have evidence that proves otherwise, but I need to present it in a way that can't be disputed." "How?" Adam explained his plan. Sophia's charity gala, the presentation of evidence, the public exposure of her affair with Damien. As he talked, Andrea's face grew troubled. "This will cause a scandal," she said quietly. "Yes, people will judge me regardless of the evidence. They'll say terrible things." "Yes, then why do it?" Andrea asked. "Why not settle quietly and let it blow over?" Adam took her hand, holding it firmly. "Because quietly settling lets Sophia control the story. She'll paint herself as the victim and you as the villain. Your reputation will be destroyed, and by extension so will the twins." "I won't allow that." Andrea looked down at their joined hands. "You're doing this to protect me, to protect all of us. You, the boys, our family." Adam's grip tightened. "But I need your consent. This will be difficult for you. The media attention, the scrutiny, it won't be pleasant. When has anything about this been pleasant?" Andrea asked with a small, sad smile. "I became a surrogate because I had no other choice. I stayed because I couldn't imagine leaving. I've already sacrificed my privacy and my innocence. What's a little more public judgment? You shouldn't have to sacrifice anything more, but I will, if it protects them." Andrea looked at the sleeping babies, her expression fierce with protective love. "They deserve better than being known as the children from a scandal. If your plan can give them that, then I'm with you." Adam felt something warm expand in his chest. "You're remarkable." "I'm desperate," Andrea corrected. "There's a difference." "No, you're remarkable." Over the next few weeks they prepared carefully. The private investigator delivered more evidence. Adam's attorney refined the presentation. Adam himself reviewed every detail, ensuring nothing could go wrong. Through it all, Andrea remained calm. She cared for the twins, maintained her routines, and showed no outward sign of stress. But Adam saw the small tells. How she checked the locks twice at night, how she startled at unexpected sounds, how her prayers grew longer and more fervent. She was afraid, and she was brave enough to do it anyway. The night of the gala arrived. Andrea dressed simply but elegantly, in a gown Adam had purchased for her, deep blue that complemented her skin beautifully. She wore her hair natural, refusing to straighten or style it into submission. "I won't pretend to be someone I'm not," she said when the stylist suggested alterations. Adam thought she looked perfect, exactly as she was. They arrived at the gala together, Adam's hand firm at the small of Andrea's back. The crowd parted as they entered, whispers following in their wake. Everyone knew who Andrea was. Everyone had opinions about the surrogate living in Adam Voge's mansion. Sophia stood near the stage, surrounded by her usual circle of admirers. She was beautiful in a designer gown that probably cost more than Andrea's entire wardrobe. When she saw Adam and Andrea together, her face went pale, then red with fury. "How dare you bring her here?" Sophia hissed when they were within earshot. "I dare many things," Adam replied calmly. As you're about to discover, the evening proceeded through its usual rhythms. Dinner, speeches, socializing. Adam and Andrea remained at their table, polite but reserved. Several people approached to introduce themselves to Andrea, their curiosity barely concealed behind false courtesy. Andrea handled it all with grace, answering questions honestly, refusing to rise to subtle provocations. Finally, the main presentation began. Sophia took the stage to deliver her annual speech about the charity's accomplishments. She was halfway through when Adam signaled to the tech team. The screens behind Sophia flickered. Her speech faltered as she noticed the change. Then the images appeared, Sophia and Damien, unmistakably together, unmistakably intimate. The ballroom erupted in gasps and whispers. Sophia spun around, her face draining of color as she saw the evidence displayed for everyone. "What is this? Stop this immediately!" But the presentation continued. More photos, text messages, financial records showing gifts Adam had unknowingly paid for. A timeline proving the affair had lasted years. Adam stood, his voice carrying across the silent room. "My wife has been unfaithful throughout our marriage. I will not pretend otherwise to protect her reputation. Some things are sacred: loyalty, honesty, commitment. Sophia values none of these." Sophia stared at him, tears streaming down her face. But they were tears of anger, not remorse. "You'll regret this, Adam. I'll make you regret this. I only regret not doing it sooner." Adam offered his arm to Andrea. She took it, her hand trembling slightly, and together they walked out of the gala. Behind them, the room exploded into conversation, scandals spreading like wildfire. In the car, Andrea finally let out a shaking breath. That was terrible. It was necessary. She looked so humiliated. "She earned her humiliation," Adam said firmly. "You didn't do this to her, Andrea. She did it to herself." Andrea nodded but remained quiet for the rest of the drive. When they arrived home, she immediately went to check on the twins, needing the comfort of their innocent presence. Adam stood alone in his study, knowing the worst was yet to come. The media would swarm tomorrow. Sophia would retaliate however she could. The battle was far from over, but he had fired the first shot, and he had done it standing beside the woman who mattered more than any society's approval. That night, as Adam checked on the babies one final time, he found Andrea asleep in the chair beside their cribs. Her hand rested protectively on the nearest crib's edge. Keeping watch, even in sleep, Adam covered her gently with a blanket and sat in the other chair, keeping vigil beside her. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Chapter 7. The Crucible of Fire, the morning after the gala. The world exploded, headlines screamed across every news site. Billionaire's wife caught in years-long affair. Adam Voges exposes cheating spouse. Society gala turns into public scandal. But alongside the factual reporting came the speculation, the cruelty, the judgment aimed squarely at Andrea. Surrogate stole, CEO's heart-while wife. Betrayed, from hired womb to house. Mistress, virgin surrogate breaks up power. Couple, the implication was clear. Sophia's affair was scandalous, but Andrea was somehow the real villain. Adam watched Andrea read the headlines on her phone, her face growing paler with each swipe. She finally set it down, her hands shaking. "They're calling me a home wrecker. They're wrong. They're saying I seduced you while carrying your babies, that I manipulated you during a vulnerable time." Andrea's voice cracked. "They're making me into something terrible." Adam crossed the room and took the phone from her hands, setting it aside. "Listen to me. People will always find ways to blame women for men's choices. Sophia cheated. That's on her. I chose to divorce her. That's on me. You did nothing except care for my children with honor and dignity. Then why does it feel like I did something wrong? Because the world is cruel to women who don't fit expected narratives." Adam's voice was fierce. "But I know the truth. My sons will know the truth, and eventually everyone else will too." The days that followed were brutal. Reporters camped outside the estate gates. Photographers tried to climb the walls. News helicopters circled overhead, hoping for photos. Andrea stopped going into the garden, feeling hunted in her own home. Adam hired additional security and released a statement through his attorney, but it did little to slow the feeding frenzy. The combination of wealth, scandal, and an unusual surrogacy arrangement made irresistible gossip. Then the offers started arriving. Other wealthy families, recognizing Andrea's discretion and character despite the scandal, reached out privately. Would she consider being their surrogate? They would pay handsomely. They would ensure her privacy. They would make it worth her while. Andrea brought the offers to Adam, her expression troubled. "They're treating me like a commodity. You're not for sale." Adam took the letters and threw them all in the fireplace, watching them burn. "You're not available. You're not interested. Anyone who contacts you again will deal with my lawyers. But the money, you have plenty of money from our contract. You don't need more, and you certainly don't need to sacrifice yourself again." Andrea watched the letters burn, her eyes reflecting the flames. "People see me as someone who can be bought. I see you as family. That's what matters." But the media attention took its toll. Andrea stopped smiling as easily. She moved through the house like a ghost, caring for the twins, but withdrawing from everything else. She stopped praying in the garden. She stopped singing to the babies. She stopped being herself. Adam found her crying in the nursery late one night, hunched in the feeding chair with her face in her hands. The twins slept peacefully, unaware of their mother's pain. Andrea, she looked up, tears streaming down her face. "I've made everything worse for you. Your reputation, your business, your life. I should leave." "Don't." Adam knelt beside her chair, taking her hands in his. "Don't let them win." "Who?" "Everyone out there who wants to define you by their judgment instead of your character." Adam's grip tightened. "You're not what they say you are. You're not a gold digger or a home wrecker or any of the other cruel things they call you. Then what am I? You're the woman who sacrificed her innocence to save her mother. You're the woman who carried my children with grace and strength. You're the woman who showed me that good people still exist in this corrupt world." Adam's voice grew rough with emotion. "Your family, Andrea, my family. And I won't let anyone take that away from us." Andrea sobbed harder, and Adam pulled her into his arms, letting her cry against his shoulder. Outside, the media circus continued. Inside, two people held each other through the storm, finding strength in unexpected places. Adam's business associates began pressuring him to distance himself from Andrea. Board members expressed concern. Investors worried about his judgment. His reputation as a cold, calculating businessman was being replaced with tabloid fodder about the CEO who fell for his surrogate. "Cut her loose," his business partner advised. "Give her a generous settlement and move on. The longer she stays in your house, the worse this looks. She's the mother of my children. She's a surrogate. There's a difference. Not to me, the pressure intensified. Adam's corporate image was suffering. Stock prices fluctuated based on scandal rather than performance. Competitors gleefully spread rumors. His carefully cultivated reputation was being destroyed by association with Andrea. Adam's response was deliberate and final. He called his lawyers and had them prepare new documents, adding Andrea's name to the birth certificates as the boy's legal mother, making her a permanent beneficiary of his estate with full inheritance rights, creating trusts for her future that couldn't be contested or revoked. When his business partner saw the documents, he exploded. "Have you lost your mind? This looks like payment for services." Like you're buying her. Then you misunderstand everything about honor, Adam said coldly. Andrea isn't for sale. She's family, and I protect my family. This will ruin you. Then I'll be ruined standing beside someone who actually cares about me. I can live with that. The partner left, shaking his head. Several board members followed, resigning in protest. Adam's inner circle fractured, revealing who had loyalty and who had only ambition. Adam didn't care. Let them leave. Let the business world judge him. He had spent years building an empire that brought him no joy. Now he had a family that gave him purpose, that was worth any cost. Andrea learned about the documents by accident, overhearing Adam discussing them with his attorney. She confronted him that evening, the legal papers clutched in her shaking hands. You put me on their birth certificates. Yes. You made me a beneficiary of your estate. Yes. Why? Andrea's voice broke. Why would you do this? It makes everything worse for you. Adam took the papers from her hands and set them aside. Then he took her face in his hands, making sure she met his eyes. Because you're not temporary, Andrea. You're not someone I'll discard when the scandal fades. You're their mother in every way that matters, and I want the world to recognize that. His thumbs brushed away her tears. You've shown me what real loyalty means. This is me showing you that I'm loyal too. I don't deserve this. You deserve everything I can give you and more. Andrea closed her eyes, overwhelmed. They're going to say terrible things about this decision. Let them. Your business will suffer. Business recovers. Family is forever. Andrea opened her eyes, studying Adam's face. When did you become this person? What person? Someone who chooses people over profit. Someone who fights for those he loves. Andrea's smile was watery but genuine. You're not the cold businessman everyone thinks you are. I am exactly that person, Adam corrected gently. Except with you and my sons. You three are my exception to every rule I've ever had. They stood together in the quiet house, the twins sleeping nearby, the world raging outside. But inside this moment there was only peace and understanding and the beginning of something neither of them had expected. Love, built on sacrifice and loyalty and the courage to choose each other despite every cost. Sophia filed new legal claims the next day. Sensing vulnerability, she demanded full custody of the twins, painting Adam as an unfit father who had abandoned his marriage for an inappropriate relationship with the surrogate. Her lawyers presented Andrea as a manipulator who had taken advantage of Adam's emotional state. The battle lines were drawn. Chapter 8. When walls become windows, the Yeej. Divorce proceedings dragged on for months. Sophia fought viciously, using every legal maneuver available. She challenged the prenuptial agreement. She demanded custody of children who weren't biologically hers. She painted herself as a victim abandoned by a cruel husband who had fallen for a younger, more fertile woman. Through it all, Adam remained steady. He presented evidence methodically. He answered questions with cold precision. He refused to be baited into emotional responses that could be used against him. But the toll showed in other ways. He lost weight. Dark circles appeared under his eyes. His legendary focus fractured under the constant stress. Andrea watched him struggle and made a quiet decision. She took over everything she could. She managed the household, so Adam didn't have to think about domestic details. She coordinated with his assistant to streamline his schedule. She made sure he ate proper meals and got at least a few hours of sleep each night, and she cared for the twins with fierce devotion, ensuring they remained untouched by the chaos surrounding their family. The boys were growing rapidly, their tiny newborn features giving way to distinct personalities. One was quiet and observant, watching everything with serious eyes. The other was more vocal, demanding attention with imperious cries. Adam called them his serious son and his demanding son, unable to decide on proper names yet. Naming them felt too permanent, too much like admitting this new reality was real and not just a dream he might wake from. They need names, Andrea told him one evening as they sat together watching the twins play on a blanket. They're not going to respond to "Hey You" forever. I know. I just Adam trailed off, struggling to articulate the fear. Once they have names, this is real, permanent. It's already real and permanent, Andrea said gently. You're their father. I'm their mother. Nothing's going to change that. Adam looked at her sharply. Their mother? Andrea flushed but didn't back down. That's what the birth certificate says now. That's what I feel like. So yes, their mother. Something warm unfurled in Adam's chest. You don't regret staying? Not for a second. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the babies explore the world with tiny hands and curious expressions. This was what Adam had wanted: family, peace, love freely given instead of purchased or negotiated. And somehow, impossibly, he had found it with the last person he expected. The divorce finally concluded on a grey afternoon. The judge ruled in Adam's favor on every significant point. Sophia received a modest settlement, as outlined in the prenuptial agreement. Adam retained full custody of the twins, with Sophia granted supervised visitation, which she didn't bother to exercise even once. Sophia left the courthouse with Damien, her designer clothes and proud bearing unable to mask the defeat in her eyes. She had lost everything: marriage, social standing, access to wealth, and any claim on the children she had never wanted. Adam felt no triumph, only exhaustion and relief that it was finally over. He returned home to find Andrea in the garden with the twins. She had them in the stroller, bundled against the cool weather, and was talking to them softly about the flowers. See the roses? Your father planted these years ago. He doesn't think anyone knows, but I've seen him tend them when he thinks no one's watching. Adam stopped at the edge of the garden, listening. He's a good man, Andrea continued, her voice soft with affection. Better than he believes. When you're old enough, you'll understand that. You'll see how much he loves you, how hard he fights for you. The quiet twin made a small sound, and Andrea laughed. Yes, I know. You're hungry. You're always hungry. Just like your brother. Adam approached slowly, not wanting to disturb the moment, but unable to stay away. Andrea looked up as he drew near, her expression brightening. You're back. How did it go? It's finished. I have full custody. She's gone. Andrea stood, moving close to him. Her hand found his, squeezing gently. Then it's really over. Yes, good. Andrea smiled up at him. Now we can focus on what matters. And what's that? Being a family. The word settled over Adam like a blessing. Family. Something he had wanted desperately and never truly had. His marriage to Sophia had been a cold arrangement. His childhood had been about achievement rather than affection. But this, standing in a garden with Andrea and his sons, this felt like family. I need to change some things, Adam said abruptly. What things? Business. I've been running everything myself for years, but I can't keep doing that. Not if I want to be present for them. Adam looked at his sons, so small and dependent. I don't want to be an absent father who provides money but nothing else. What will you do? Restructure. Delegate more. Maybe sell some of the companies I don't care about. Adam's mind was already working through possibilities. I built an empire because I had nothing else. Now I have everything that matters. The empire can survive with less of me. Andrea's eyes shone with pride. They're lucky to have you as their father. I'm lucky to have them. And you. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning neither was quite ready to acknowledge. Andrea looked away first, turning back to the twins, who were beginning to fuss. We should get them inside. It's getting cold. Adam helped her maneuver the stroller back to the house, acutely aware of the brush of her shoulder against his arm, the soft sound of her humming. The way she moved with such natural grace through his world. When had Andrea become so essential? When had her presence shifted from convenience to necessity? Adam didn't know. He only knew that imagining the house without her felt like imagining a world without color. That evening, Adam made the first of many changes. He called his senior leadership team and announced his intention to step back from daily operations. There would be a transition period, but ultimately he wanted to be CEO in name only, providing vision and strategy, but leaving execution to others. Some of his executives were relieved, others were concerned, but all of them recognized the determination in Adam's voice and adjusted accordingly. Over the following weeks, Adam's life transformed. He stopped working until midnight. He started joining Andrea and the twins for breakfast. He took afternoons off to help with the babies, learning their rhythms and preferences. The serious twin, he discovered, loved being held close and would settle immediately against Adam's chest. The demanding twin needed motion, so Adam paced the halls with him, talking softly about business deals and financial strategies. Treating his infant son like a serious colleague, Andrea watched all of this with quiet joy. "You're a natural father. I'm fumbling constantly. All parents fumble. The difference is you care enough to keep trying. Of course I care. They're my sons, and I'm so proud of who you're becoming for them." Adam looked at Andrea, really looked at her. She had grown more beautiful since giving birth, her body softer, her confidence stronger. She moved through his house like she belonged there, because she did belong there. She belonged with him. The realization struck Adam with the force of revelation. He loved her, not from gratitude or convenience, but truly, deeply, completely. He loved Andrea's gentle strength, her unshakable morals, her refusal to be corrupted by wealth or influenced by judgment. He loved her, and he had no idea what to do about it. They were building something precious, a family based on mutual respect and shared purpose. Adding romance could complicate everything. Andrea might not feel the same way. She might feel pressured by his feelings, trapped by obligation. Adam couldn't risk destroying what they had built by wanting more. So he stayed silent, burying his feelings deep, determined to be satisfied with what they already shared. But late at night, when the house was quiet and the twins were sleeping, Adam allowed himself to imagine what it might be like if Andrea loved him back, if those gentle smiles were for him, not just the babies, if that soft laughter was because of him, if he could hold her the way he held his sons, openly, without restraint, claiming her as his. The fantasy was sweet torture. Across the house, Andrea lay awake in her own room, thinking similar thoughts and fighting similar fears. She loved Adam Vogers. Improbably, she loved the cold businessman who turned warm for his children. She loved his dedication, his intelligence, his capacity for change. She loved how he looked at his sons like they were miracles, and how he looked at her like she was precious. But Andrea knew better than to hope for more. She was a former surrogate from a modest background. Adam was a billionaire CEO who could have any woman he wanted once the scandal faded. Why would he choose her? So Andrea kept her feelings hidden, content to be part of his family, even if she could never be his partner in truth. Neither of them realized they were both falling alone, each certain the other could never love them back outside. The seasons changed, and the world moved on to new scandals, leaving the Vogers family to their hard-won peace. Chapter 9. The Price of Kingdom Spring arrived with gentle warmth and new beginnings. The twins celebrated their first birthday with a small party in the garden. No society guests, no photographers, just family and staff who had become family. Andrea baked a cake from scratch, insisting it had to be homemade, even though they could afford any bakery in the city. Adam watched her decorate it, tongue caught between her teeth in concentration, and felt his heart swell with love he couldn't express. The boys, finally named after weeks of deliberation, reached for their cake with grabby hands. The serious twin, whom they had named Daniel, studied his piece carefully before taking a tiny taste. The demanding twin, Nathan, smashed his entire fist into the frosting and crowed with delight. "That's my boy," Adam said, laughing as Nathan smeared cake everywhere. "He takes after you," Andrea teased, diving in without hesitation. "I'm much more refined than that. Are you, though?" Their easy banter felt natural now, the product of months living together as a family unit. To outside observers, they might have looked like any married couple celebrating their children's milestone. But Adam and Andrea knew the truth. They were dancing around feelings neither dared acknowledge. That evening, after the babies were asleep and the house was quiet, Adam found Andrea on the terrace overlooking the garden. She was wrapped in a shawl against the cool night air, staring up at the stars. "Thank you for today," Adam said, joining her. "It was perfect. They deserved a perfect day. They're perfect boys. They're lucky to have you." Andrea smiled but didn't respond, and silence settled comfortably between them. After a moment, she spoke softly. "My mother wants to meet them." Adam turned to her, surprised. "Your mother? She's well enough to travel now." The treatment worked. Andrea's voice filled with joy and relief. "She's coming next week if that's okay with you." "Of course it's okay. This is your home too. Is it though?" Andrea's question was gentle but serious. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm still just the surrogate who stayed too long." Adam's chest tightened. "You're not a surrogate. You haven't been for a long time." "Then what am I?" The question hung between them, heavy with unspoken possibilities. Adam could tell her the truth, that she was everything to him, that he loved her, that he wanted her to stay forever, not out of obligation, but choice. But fear held him silent. Fear of rejection, of ruining what they had, of losing the family they had built if she didn't feel the same way. "You're Daniel and Nathan's mother," Adam finally said, his voice rough. "You're an essential part of this family. He paused, searching for safe words. "You're someone I trust and respect more than anyone." Andrea looked away, and Adam wondered if she was disappointed by his answer. But when she spoke, her voice was steady. "My mother will want to thank you personally. For saving her life, I didn't save her. The doctors did. You paid for the doctors. You gave me the opportunity to help her." Andrea turned back to him, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "You changed everything for me, Adam. I was desperate and alone. Now I have purpose and family. That's because of you. You did the same for me," Adam admitted. "I was empty before you came into my life." They stared at each other, both understanding there was more to say, but neither willing to risk the words. The moment stretched, full of potential, trembling on the edge of something transformative. Then Nathan cried out from the nursery, shattering the tension. Andrea smiled ruefully. "Duty calls." She left to tend to Nathan, and Adam remained on the terrace, cursing his cowardice. He should have told her. He should have been honest about his feelings. But what if she didn't feel the same? What if his confession drove her away? Adam couldn't bear the thought of losing her. Andrea's mother, Grace, arrived the following week. She was a small woman, thin from her illness, but with eyes that sparkled with intelligence and warmth. She took one look at the twins and burst into tears. "Oh, my baby girl. You did this? You grew these beautiful boys?" "I did, Mama," Andrea said, her own voice thick with emotion. "And I'd do it again in a heartbeat." Grace turned to Adam, studying him with the sharp assessment of a mother protecting her daughter. "You're the man who saved my life. I'm the man your daughter saved," Adam corrected gently. "She gave me everything that matters." Grace's expression softened. "Andrea told me you've been good to her. Kind and respectful. That means everything to a mother's heart. She deserves nothing less." Over the next few days, Grace stayed in the guest suite and integrated seamlessly into the household. She helped with the twins, taught the chef her grandmother's recipes, and filled the house with laughter and stories. She also watched Adam and Andrea carefully, noting the longing glances they exchanged when the other wasn't looking, the careful way they avoided touching, the obvious love neither would admit. One afternoon, Grace cornered Adam in his study. "You love my daughter." Adam froze, caught off guard by her directness. She's important to me. That's not what I asked." Grace settled into the chair across from his desk, her gaze unwavering. "I'm not blind and I'm not foolish. You look at Andrea the way a man looks at the woman he loves. So I'll ask again, do you love her?" Adam set down his pen, meeting Grace's eyes honestly. "Yes, I love her more than I thought possible to love anyone." "Have you told her?" "No, why not?" Adam struggled to articulate the fear. "Because I don't want to pressure her. She's here because of the children, not because of me. If I tell her how I feel, she might feel obligated to reciprocate. Or worse, she might leave to avoid an uncomfortable situation." Grace sighed, a sound full of maternal exasperation. "Young people, you complicate everything. She leaned forward, her voice firm. My daughter looks at you the same way you look at her. She loves you, you fool. She's just too scared to say it. Adam's heart stuttered. She told you that? She didn't have to. A mother knows. Grace stood, preparing to leave. Life is short, Adam. I know that better than most. Don't waste time being afraid of happiness. If you love her, tell her. Give her the choice instead of making it for her. After Grace left, Adam sat alone with her words echoing in his mind. Could it be true? Did Andrea love him back? He thought of all their shared moments, the gentle touches, the comfortable silences, the way she smiled at him across a room. He thought of how she stayed when she could have left, how she built a life here with him and his sons. Maybe Grace was right. Maybe he was complicating what should be simple. That evening, Adam made a decision. He would tell Andrea the truth. Not tonight. Not when the house was full of Grace's presence and the twins were demanding attention. But soon, he would find the right moment and be honest about his feelings. Whatever happened, at least he would have tried. But fate had other plans. The next morning, Adam's elderly uncle arrived unannounced, accompanied by several other family members Adam rarely saw. They swept into the house with the entitlement of people who believed wealth gave them authority. Adam, we need to talk, his uncle announced, settling into the study without invitation. About this situation with the surrogate, Adam's expression went cold. Andrea is not a situation. She's family. She's an employee who's overstepped her bounds, his uncle countered. The whole family is concerned about the scandal, about what it means for our name, your name. You mean the name I built through my own work while you lived off family trusts? The uncle's face reddened. Don't be disrespectful. We have legitimate concerns. You're planning to marry this woman, aren't you? That's none of your business. It is our business when it affects the family reputation. The uncle stood pacing angrily. She's not our kind of people, Adam. She comes from nothing. She was desperate enough to sell her body for money. What kind of example does that set? Adam was on his feet so fast, his chair crashed backward. Get out! Excuse me? Get out of my house now, before I have security remove you. You're being irrational. I'm being protective of my family, Adam said, his voice deadly quiet. Andrea sacrificed everything to save her mother. She carried my children with grace and dignity. She's shown more honor and character than anyone in this room. He looked at each family member in turn. If you can't respect her, then you have no place in my life or my sons' lives, his uncle sputtered. You're cutting off your own family for a surrogate. I'm choosing the family I built over the family I inherited. There's a difference. One by one, Adam showed them out. Some left angry, others hurt, but all of them understood his message was final. Andrea was not negotiable. As the last car pulled away, Adam found his mother still standing in the foyer. She was a quiet woman who had always faded into the background of family gatherings. Mama, Adam said gently. You didn't have to stay. His mother approached him, her eyes misty. Your father was like them, cold, concerned only with reputation and power. I spent 30 years feeling inadequate because I wasn't society enough for him. She took Adam's hands in hers. But you're different. You're choosing love over legacy. That takes courage I never had. I love her, Mama. I can't pretend I don't. Then tell her. Don't make her wonder the way I always wondered with your father. His mother squeezed his hands. Andrea is good for you. She's made you human again. That's worth more than any family approval. After she left, Adam stood alone, processing everything that had happened. He had just cut ties with most of his extended family. His carefully constructed world was narrowing to what truly mattered: Andrea, his sons, and the people who supported them. It was terrifying and liberating in equal measure. Adam found Andrea in the nursery, rocking Nathan while Daniel played with blocks nearby. She looked up as he entered, concern in her eyes. I heard yelling. What happened? Nothing that matters. Adam sat beside her, watching his sons. Just clarifying priorities. Andrea studied his face. You look upset. I'm not upset. I'm determined. Adam turned to her, his expression serious. Andrea, I need to tell you something. Before he could continue, Grace appeared in the doorway. Sorry to interrupt, but Sophia is downstairs. She's demanding to see the children. Adam stood immediately. She has no legal right, she knows. She's threatening to cause a scene if you don't at least talk to her. Adam looked at Andrea, seeing his own concern reflected in her eyes. The peace they had built was fragile, and Sophia's return threatened everything. "I'll handle it," Adam said. "You stay here with the boys." But as he left the nursery, Adam couldn't shake the feeling that something important had just been interrupted, and that telling Andrea the truth might be harder than he thought. Chapter 10. The Crown of Love. The courtroom was smaller than expected, more intimate despite the weight of what was at stake. Sophia sat with her lawyer, dressed impeccably but looking tired, worn down by months of fighting. Adam sat with his legal team, Andrea beside him in quiet support. Between them, represented by documents and testimony, were Daniel and Nathan, two little boys whose futures hung in the balance. Sophia was making one final attempt to gain custody rights, claiming she had been emotionally distraught during the divorce and hadn't understood what she was giving up. Her lawyer presented arguments about maternal instinct awakening late, about regret and redemption. Adam's lawyer demolished each argument methodically, presenting evidence of Sophia's lack of involvement, her refusal to attend even supervised visits, her continued relationship with Damien that showed no real change in priorities. But the most powerful moment came when the judge asked to see the children. Daniel and Nathan were brought in, confused by the strange room but calming when they saw Adam and Andrea. Nathan immediately reached for Andrea, making grabby hands and fussing until she held him. Daniel went to Adam, burying his face in his father's shoulder. The judge watched carefully as Sophia approached, arms outstretched with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Both boys pulled back, uncomfortable with the stranger. Nathan whimpered and clung tighter to Andrea. Daniel turned his face away from Sophia completely. "They don't know me," Sophia said, her voice breaking convincingly. "Because you chose not to know them," the judge replied gently but firmly. "Children this age recognize primary caregivers. They bond with those who care for them daily. These boys clearly know who their parents are." The ruling came swiftly. Adam retained full custody. Sophia was granted supervised visitation rights that she could exercise if she chose. But the judge made it clear that the children's stability and well-being took precedence over late-blooming maternal feelings. Sophia left without looking back, and Adam knew with certainty that she would never exercise those visitation rights. The twins had never been what she wanted. They had just been leverage in a battle she lost. Outside the courthouse, Andrea exhaled shakily. "It's really over." Finally, they drove home in comfortable silence. The twins, sleeping peacefully in their car seats, unaware they had just witnessed the legal end of a painful chapter. That evening, after the boys were in bed and the house was quiet, Adam made his decision. He found Andrea in the garden, sitting on the bench where they had shared so many conversations. The roses were blooming, filling the air with sweetness. It felt appropriate, beautiful and natural and right. "Andrea," she looked up, smiling softly. "Hi, big day." "Very big." Adam sat beside her, his heart hammering. "But it made me realize something." "What's that?" "That I've been a coward." Adam turned to face her fully, taking her hand. "I've been so careful, so controlled, trying to protect what we have by not risking more. But Grace was right. Life's too short for fear." Andrea's eyes widened. "What are you saying?" "I love you." The words tumbled out, raw and honest. "I love you not because you carried my children or because you stayed when you could have left. I love you because you're kind and strong and honest. Because you make me want to be better. Because when I imagine my future, you're in every moment of it." Andrea stared at him, tears welling in her eyes. "You don't have to say anything," Adam continued quickly. "I know this might be unwelcome. I know you might not feel the same way. But I couldn't go another day without telling you the truth. You deserve to know how I feel, even if—" Andrea kissed him. It was soft and sweet and tasted like tears and hope. When she pulled back, she was smiling through her crying. "I love you too, you impossible man." I've loved you for months but was too scared to say it. Adam cupped her face, hardly believing what he was hearing. Say it again. I love you, Adam Voges. I love your dedication to our sons. I love your fierce protection of family. I love how you changed for them, for me. I love, he kissed her again, deeper this time, pouring months of restrained feeling into the connection. Andrea's arms came around his neck, and for the first time since they met, there was no barrier between them, no professionalism, no uncertainty, just honest emotion freely expressed. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adam pressed his forehead to hers. Marry me, Andrea laughed, the sound bright with joy. You're not even giving me time to adjust to the idea of us dating. I've wasted enough time being careful. I know what I want, you, me, our sons, a real family built on love instead of contracts. Adam pulled back to look at her seriously. I'm not asking you to fill a role, Andrea. I'm asking you to share a life, to be my partner in everything, to let me spend the rest of my days proving I'm worthy of the gift you've already given me. You don't have to prove anything. Then say yes. Andrea's smile was radiant. Yes, 1,000 times yes. They sat together in the garden, wrapped in each other's arms, as stars appeared overhead. Inside the house, their sons slept peacefully. Tomorrow, they would start planning a future that seemed impossible just a year ago, but tonight was for celebrating what they had found. Love that grew from sacrifice and trust, from choosing each other again and again, until choice became certainty. Adam thought of the broken man he had been, hollow and cold, building empires to fill the void. Now he held the woman who had shown him that some things couldn't be bought or negotiated. Some things could only be earned through honor and patience, and opening a heart he thought was closed forever. I was going to suggest a big wedding, Adam murmured against Andrea's hair, but I think I'd rather keep it intimate. Just us, the boys, your mother, the people who actually matter. That sounds perfect. Andrea nestled closer. Though maybe a few more people. The staff who have become family. Your mother, the ones who stood by us, agreed. They planned quietly, voices soft in the darkness, dreaming of a ceremony that would formalize what was already true. They were a family, chosen and cherished and real. The wedding took place in the garden months later, as summer reached its peak. White flowers everywhere, soft music, gentle sunshine. Daniel and Nathan toddled around in tiny suits, Daniel taking his role as ring-bearer with utmost seriousness, while Nathan tried to eat the flowers. Grace cried through the entire ceremony. Adam's mother smiled more genuinely than anyone had seen in years. The staff watched with affection and pride, but Adam only saw Andrea. She wore a simple white dress that needed no embellishment. Her hair was natural and beautiful. She held his hands as if they were precious, and when it was time for vows, her voice was steady and clear. I came into your life desperate and afraid. You met me with respect and honor. You protected me when I was vulnerable. You chose me when the world judged. You taught me that good men exist, that promises can be kept, that love is worth every sacrifice, Andrea's voice caught. I was hired to give you children. Instead, you gave me a family. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for building something beautiful from something broken. Adam had prepared his own vows carefully, practiced them until they were perfect. But standing before Andrea with their sons playing nearby and the people they loved watching, all his prepared words fled. Instead, he spoke from his heart. You were never just a surrogate. From the moment you walked into my office, willing to sacrifice everything for your mother, you were extraordinary. You showed me what courage looks like, what integrity means, what love feels like when it's freely given. Adam squeezed her hands. I was empty before you. Now I'm full. I was cold. Now I'm warm. I was alone. Now I'm home. That's what you are to me, Andrea, home. And I promise to spend every day of my life making sure you feel the same. They exchanged rings, simple bands that needed no excess ornamentation. When the officiant pronounced them married, the twins cheered along with everyone else, not understanding, but feeling the joy that saturated the air. At the reception, Adam watched Andrea dance with his sons, her laughter carrying across the garden. She was radiant with happiness, finally free to be herself without judgment or restraint. Grace appeared beside him, her own expression soft with contentment. "You did good. Son, I got lucky. No, you chose well. And you fought for that choice." Grace patted his arm. "That's what love is, not the choosing but the fighting to keep what you chose. I'll fight for her every day of my life. I know. That's why I'm not worried about her anymore." As evening fell and guests began to leave, Adam and Andrea stood together, watching their sons play. Daniel was showing Nathan how to stack blocks carefully. Nathan was knocking them down enthusiastically. "We made this," Andrea said softly. "This family, this peace, this joy. You made this," Adam corrected. "I just had the sense to recognize it when it appeared." Andrea leaned against him, fitting perfectly under his arm. "Do you remember when we met? How terrified I was." "You hid it well. I thought you were going to be cold and demanding, that I would fulfill my contract and disappear without leaving any mark on your life. Instead, you marked everything," Adam said. "Every room in that house has your presence now. Every moment of my day has your influence. You didn't just carry my children, you carried my broken heart back to life. That's very poetic for a businessman. You inspire poetry in me." They laughed together, the sound natural and free. Inside the house, someone called that the twins needed baths. Real life intruded on their perfect moment, but neither minded. This was their life now, messy and demanding and absolutely precious. Years passed. The twins grew from toddlers to young boys, smart and kind like their mother, strong and driven like their father. They had no memory of the scandal that preceded their birth, no understanding of the unusual circumstances that brought their family together. They just knew they were loved. Adam stood on the terrace one evening, watching Andrea teach the boys to garden. Daniel approached planting with scientific precision, measuring everything carefully. Nathan threw seeds enthusiastically and cheered when things grew, despite his chaos. "You're smiling," Adam's mother said, joining him at the railing. "I smile a lot these days." "You do. It suits you better than that cold mask you used to wear." Adam looked at his mother, seeing her own happiness reflected back. She had moved closer after the wedding, finally free to be herself without judgment. The boys adored their grandmother, and she spoiled them with the affection she had never been allowed to show Adam as a child. "Thank you," Adam said quietly. "For what?" "For supporting us. For standing by Andrea when your own family turned away." His mother patted his hand. "Andrea is family. Real family. The ones who chose her proved that." In the garden below, Nathan shrieked with delight as he found a worm. Daniel backed away cautiously while Andrea laughed and explained that worms were helpful. "She's a good mother," Adam's mother observed. "She's the best mother, and you're a good father. Better than yours ever was." I had a better example to follow. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the family Adam had built from ruins. He had lost a wife who never loved him. He had gained a partner who chose him every day. That was the real treasure, not wealth or status or power, but love that sustained and healed and grew stronger with each passing season. Andrea looked up and caught Adam watching. She blew him a kiss, her smile bright and beautiful and completely genuine. Adam caught it dramatically, pressing his hand to his heart, making both boys groan with exaggerated embarrassment. This was his empire now, not corporate buildings or financial portfolios, but a garden full of laughter, a house full of love, a life full of meaning. And it all began with one desperate woman and one broken man, choosing each other when the world said they shouldn't, choosing love over expectation, honor over scandal, family over everything else. In the end, that was the only choice that mattered.